Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Dynasty Dudez Hangout with my friend Russell Clay, and our guest today is from Dynasty League Football, Ghost. How's it going tonight, Mr. Ghost?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Pretty awesome.
Right.
I mean,
We've got
considering.
Considering the people here,
Well, that's not what I was getting at. I was just
No,
saying,
okay. That's how we took it. That's fine.
considering I've been trying to sort of make my bowling game better, and they oiled the lanes today, and I went and no gusta today. Didn't get over 160. Brutal.
I've never gone over like 120, so.
I left
You
a
and me
defeated
both.
man. Dude, you gotta throw with the curve.
We bowling. I used to
The hook, as they call it. I've been looking up bowling message boards because I'm at that level, and it's just like epic of just wow. All right, we can stop talking about
We've
that.
got a lot of rookie Dynasty talk going on today, but we also have some veteran stuff that's going on, so we'll hit on that a little bit. We always start off with some Roto War blurbs and whatnot, and one that came out this week that has me as a guy with a few Blackman chairs shaking my head and legs. Florida Times Union reporter Ryan O'Halloran believes Justin Blackman is donezo with the Jaguars. While this makes me happy for all of my Allen Robinson shares, thanks A-Rob, that it does worry me as far as my Blackman shares. Do you think that him being donezo in Jacksonville means he's done in the NFL, or do you think he gets another shot elsewhere?
Russell or me?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I think he'll land somewhere. I get the feeling just from kind of what I've heard that he's kind of started to figure out that he can't be the idiot, for lack of a better word, that he's been thus far. I think someone, just based on talent alone, will pick him up and he'll land somewhere. I can't see that a talent like that just leaves the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely get another shot. I don't think there's a question about that, but it's just an interesting sort of case study in, wow, like even a top 5 pick, like even if he gets suspended, then teams are just willing to give up now. So that draft status matters to opportunity, but if you sort of get involved in drugs or get suspended or anything like that, teams are willing to cut bait pretty quickly. So keep that in mind
unless you're Josh Gordon.
Yeah, and then
you get 50 chances.
Yeah, and you ruin all of them. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. It kind of feels like one of those things that he might just be done. Again, and as far as like dynasty trading and whatnot, like I gave up Jeff Janis for him a while ago. I'm not even sure I'd do that today. But I mean, I'd want like a late second, and I probably wouldn't get it. So I'm holding Blackman at this point essentially. More veteran news. Couple signings this week. Titans signed the skeleton of Hakeem Nicks. What do we think about this signing? I'll start with you, Ghost.
Go ahead, Russell.
I think it's exactly what you think it is. A pathetic signing for a pathetic franchise. And, I mean, I loved Hakeem Nicks when he was first coming out, especially in his second and third year. And he was fantastic. I mean, he had everything you wanted in a receiver, but this just shows, like, injuries can take a toll on even the highest talented players, you know? So, no, like, I just think the injuries have gotten to him. And unlike Kenny Britt, who sort of had he sort of found a niche in St. Louis where he's not necessarily the star receiver we all wanted him to be, but he's sort of like a contributing veteran, and he has a presence in the locker room, like an actual positive presence in the locker room. So, like, maybe Knicks can do that, but it seems like recently, in the recent future, he, like, hasn't been a good influence. So I don't know if he can even be that. We'll see.
So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make this kind of a nice little triangle. When when Nix was being drafted as a Rams fan, I wanted him so bad, so bad. So now he went to the Giants, okay? So now he goes to the Titans. We get Britt from the Titans here at the Rams. So this nice little dance that doesn't really seem to have helped anyone out all that much, in my opinion.
Not at all, but like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. So like, what was that? The 2009 draft, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, both of them sort of. I mean, it's not necessarily their fault. Like, just because you have talent doesn't necessarily mean it's like gonna happen for you. But you just kind of felt like they left a few good fantasy seasons out on the table there.
Yeah, injuries and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Knicks signing is that he was the 24th guy in your Dynasty roster, and he still is, and he might not be on the roster much longer after the rookie draft.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other signing was Greg to the Dolphins. It's an interesting signing for me. I just think that that whole receiving corps is going to end up like not being able to be fantasy relevant because it's Ryan Tannehill supporting a bunch of like good but nothing special weapons.
Yeah, no, I can see that totally. And it just feels like it's not quite the place to go to die for fantasy receivers, but it's like the 7th level hell. You know, there might be one more level or 2 levels after that, but you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point.
And this is another interesting one because free agency a few years ago, Mike Wallace and Greg Jennings were like the 2 big guys, and Jennings went to the Vikings and Wallace went to the Dolphins, and now they like 2 years later they've swapped spots. So it's like some weird type of envy going on here or something. I don't know. But
they're like, oh, we really liked you back then, and you did horribly since then. Let's try it now.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, as I was talking like a little bit before, I don't know if Jennings and Landry sort of mix together. I get Stills, like Stills and Jennings sort of work together, but I feel like Jennings and Landry sort of take up similar parts of the field. So I guess it could work, but I'm going to need to see it before I actually believe it, you know?
I'll go out on the limb. It's not going to work.
That is a hot take right there.
But at least there's a limb to go out on. Like, at least we're giving them, like, there's a 5% chance. So, there you go, Greg Jennings.
You're saying there's a chance then.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so if you're just starting preparing for rookie drafts, you're probably about 4 months late. But our friend Ghost, he writes this awesome thing called the Orange Report for DLF. So Ghost, just talk about your process of scouting and writing out the Orange Report, and just not about specific players, just talk about your process.
Sure. So it's tied pretty closely to another project that I do for DLF called the Rookie Draft Board. What I do there is essentially create a draft board. I know that's shocking given the title. But I'll do write-ups on players. I'll include game film. That's very important. I will not include highlights only because I want our readers to see both the good and the bad aspects of a player. That way they can get a better assessment. Highlight films, you just see the best of the best that the player's done. So what I'll do then is create the rookie draft board, give them their rankings, both in terms of position and round for both NFL projected round that they'll be drafted in, and try and create a projected round that you should take them in your rookie drafts. I include the videos, all the combine data, any specifics about the player, height, weight, school, class, all that good stuff. When I'm done with that, what I start to do is transfer it into the Orange Report. I found that the rookie draft board is good if you're sitting at your computer and getting a chance to actually see what I'm seeing with the video. But say you're out, at your draft or in a car, on the subway, wherever, and you want to take that information with you, you can take the Orange Report with you. Essentially, it's the same general write-up, just without the video, and just kind of present some nice formatting to be able to take it with you and easily find the information.
All right, so I know Devy is becoming more and more popular, and all three of us are on our fair share of Devy leagues. But for people who stay away from the Devy, they just focus on Dynasty. Is there like a specific time that is optimal to start with your Devy? I mean, is it just the earlier the better, or is there a pocket of time? Okay, this is when we should get on this.
So, in terms of the rookie draft board and Orange Report, is that what you're asking, or
just draft, like preparing for rookie drafts in general?
So I found that I like to do it right after the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I could be doing a bunch of write-ups, bunch of research on players who might not declare in the end anyway. I've got a good sense then after pretty much all the bowl games are over to kind of the span of their career. And that's when I start getting to work on each year's draft board and Orange Report.
Yeah, one thing that I'm trying to narrow down, sort of, when is the right time to have your rookie draft? Like directly after the week after the draft, or sort of a little later? Or like before? Because everyone sort of has their own perspective on when to have it, and what's your thoughts on that? I'll give mine after.
I like the week after. In the 5 leagues that I run, it's always the week after. Gives you a little bit of a chance to digest kind of where they've gone and couple it with kind of the skill set that they have versus the holes that team that they went to might have. I am tinkering and playing around with the concept of having the first round a week before the draft, and then the second and third 2 weeks. A week after the NFL draft, and then 4 through 7, probably about a month before the NFL season starts. That way, you can kind of get a feeling for how they've been used both in preseason and training camp and all that.
Right. I mean, especially if you're not following this all year long. You probably want to get a look at some ADPs just in case you're not reaching completely out of the stratosphere for some players. But yeah, I think like a week or 2 after the draft is a good time to get started. People are getting antsy anyway, so that's when I would think would probably be the best time.
Sure.
Yeah, as far as I've seen a few that have started before the NFL draft. You know, I understand the whole trusting your own scouting, trusting your own evaluations, and I think that has value to it. But and these 2 guys we'll talk about both J.J. or J.J. or however you say it, and Dorial Green Beckham. Those are 2 guys where my evaluation of them will sway a lot based on where they're picked in the NFL draft. J.E. because that'll prove how confident the NFL team is in his knee long term, and of course Green Beckham. Just shows how a team thinks he'll be able to stay clean or whatnot. And then as far as post-draft, I actually have a pair of leagues that do two doesn't have 2 leagues that don't have waivers. So there's 2 sets of rookie drafts. There's one right after the NFL draft, a week after, first 5 rounds. And then the second 5 rounds are like after the second preseason game. So that gives you the time to pick up some free agents that have maybe made some news. As well as the rookies that are flyers that we didn't really know about, like John Brown, for example. He wasn't really being drafted in rookie drafts in the early ones, but for the ones that were later, he ended up going higher on boards. If that makes sense.
Can I ask you a question about that format then? Do you allow veteran players in that? That's a lot of rounds, I would say, and
Rookie free agent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. This is a question a lot of film guys get asked. For you, how many games of a prospect do you watch before feeling comfortable with your evaluation?
So I like to try to at least squeeze about 3 to 4 in. That's not always possible given the amount of game tape out there. Sometimes I have to make my assessment off of a single game, and I'm not really fond of doing that, but a lot of times I figure it 2 ways. It's indicative of what others think of the skill set. If there's less film out there, people just aren't that impressed by him. The second thing being, if there's less film on him, it's likely that NFL teams feel kind of the same way in that, he might go later, and as such, I kind of factor in that lack of tape in a degree to my process overall.
All right, so let's talk about some individual rookies. So Max Williams, according to most, seems like the consensus number one. And obviously rookie tight ends are a pretty risky investment that most never really turn into anything fantasy relevant wise. Is there any tight end after Max Williams worth a salt? Worth a later round flyer, essentially?
I honestly like Jesse James. That's one that a few people have been hearing and mentioning a little bit. He has just that frame. He has that playmaking ability. I honestly wish he probably would have stayed in just maybe one more year. He would have probably been at least a round or 2 higher than what he'll end up going when he's drafted. That being said, Clive Walford, he's another one that I think people could get behind. I'm not as high on.
I was big on him, and then I heard he really trashed his combine interviews and stuff. So I think he's a good option. I'm just worried again, this is why we wait for the draft, because if a team's still willing to take a chance on him, then I think he's really worth it. But if you sort of see him fall, it's kind of okay, maybe I'll take a chance on him later, but
sure.
Yeah, him, I like Jesse James too. Yeah, like you mentioned.
Yeah, with Walford, I was going that same direction. I wasn't as high on him as most. Sure, he has some good playmaking ability. I hadn't heard the part about trashing the interview, so that just makes me shake my head even more. He was already lacking kind of the size that I would have liked to have seen out of a prospect that would go high as a tight end. But, c'est la vie. It's not much going on in the tight end class this year.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much my stance. I mean, I probably drafting any tight ends not named Max, and even Max.
But in a tight end premium, I think if Max goes second round, you're still looking at him in the early to mid second, correct? In a rookie draft.
Max Williams, yeah.
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 He might go late first and so.
He's still a considerable talent that you would want to sort of use a decently high pick on.
I would actually say, in my valuation of him, late second, just given how deep the wide receiver class is this year. Even in tight end premium, I'm not super high on him, so I don't know if he could make all that much of an impact. The class in general is just fairly weak in my opinion, and as such, that's where I would probably be taking him. If you're late second anyway, you're a competitor. It would just kind of be a nice to have.
Okay, so more of a role player than actually sort of someone who's gonna bring you to the championship, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Depth, in my opinion.
Yeah, right.
They're not top 5 tight end upside, and then pretty much anyone who doesn't have that upside is a low end tight end one, and those are
right. Like, how many guys right now could you say have like low end tight end one upside? Like 15. Once you get in that range, it's pretty much nothing. I mean, we saw, and this is another example of why you don't necessarily go BPA. Eric Ebron last year, I actually did go him in one league, and it was a learning experience for me, I guess, to say the least. Because you look at all the receivers I passed on. I mean, I took him at like 1.9 or 1.10, and it was just like, ugh. A year later, that's just.
I had a guy take me 105, and I was shaking my head. It is tight end premium, but I was like, ooh, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there's a and again, that's what I want to put an emphasis on this offseason, which is context of like, okay, Max Williams is by far the best tight end in this class, but what does that actually mean? You know?
Sure, and I tried to kind of address that in the Orange Report. I added a new feature this season where I do kind of ratings based on attributes for each player. So for a wide receiver, his hands, his route running, speed, etc. What I would do then is give the position a grade based on the average of the top 10 prospects for that position. And it worked out actually pretty well. Tight end was one of the lowest ones too.
Right, which would make sense.
All right, so I hit on these on my little draft position rant, but thoughts on JJ and the rumor about his knee possibly not being able to hold up long term?
Yeah, and maybe like does this remind you of anything that happened to someone recently in recent rookie drafts? Or is this just like sort of a new type of thing that happened?
I honestly think this is probably more smoke and mirrors than anything. The last time he had a knee injury was, a year or two ago. He played a full season at least since then. Showed no real ill effects from what I saw. This does remind me not so much of a draft situation, but it reminds me of an NFL situation with MJD. Everyone kept saying, oh, he's running bone on bone with his knee.
Oh my God, you're right. I remember that. Yep.
And a year later, he is gone.
Oh.
So wait, did he have more good years after that, or was he done after that?
I think there was a season in Jacksonville and then the season in Oakland. And from what I remember, the season in Jackson. I'm sorry.
Oakland is where he didn't exist anymore. Yeah.
Just died, yeah. And then the season in Jacksonville, from what I remember, was just kind of middle of the road.
Right. Yep. So 2012, he played 6 games, and then 2013, he played a full season, but it was like 3.4 yards per carry, and then everyone knows what happened in Oakland last year. So, that's the awkward thing, because we get way more information than we used to, but it's like hard to gauge what we do with this information. So we get we were talking about Jonathan Franklin before, and it's like, what do you do with a guy like that now where there's major injury concerns and red flags before the draft, and then he falls, but he's still a player and he's still playing, and then he retires the next year? It's just it's hard to gauge with some of these guys,
Another one, Latimer, or Marcus Latimer. He had the knees just busted out. Niners still took the chance on him. Never anything,
Yeah, see, that's the thing is if Lattimore went in the 4th round, and so if a JE goes in the 4th round, it's it's the same capital that someone invested in Lattimore.
And then there's the other side of the coin where Lamar Miller dropped, and I'm pretty sure it was because of injury reasons, not because of what he did on the field. And then obviously he's turned himself into a pretty solid running back, So
sure,
it's like a weird. The injury stuff that comes out before the draft is really.
But now see with Miller, he had concerns, but I believe he finished the last season he was there. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, no, you're correct.
Okay.
I remember being shocked that he fell to the fourth round. But
And then the other things would be like with Latimer, he didn't finish that last season,
right.
and he fell. Whereas Ajay here, he finished his season from what I remember, and I think it might be more of a let's go on the Miller side of this equation than the Latimer side.
That would make sense, yeah.
All right, so let's talk some Dorial Green Beckham. And actually, I want to talk more than just the off-the-field stuff because I've actually had some interesting conversations about him. Do you think that he's the number one on-the-field receiver in this class? There are some people that actually don't think he's better than White or Cooper as is. What's your opinion on the field? And then we'll go to the off-the-field. Dorial Green Beckham.
I'd say he's at least one of the top three on the field. What's weird with this class is they all kind of have their own little niche, you know. You have a guy who can physically dominate the outside like DJB. You've got a guy that is just incredibly strong with Cooper. And then you've got someone like White who's kind of the wild card. He does a lot of things really well. Off the field, it doesn't concern me so much. I'm not all that worried about it. I think he's kind of turned it around. On the field, I think he's a supremely talented player who will probably see his draft stock impacted just by what he's done off the field.
Okay. So pretty much without these off-field concerns, you'd have him in your top 2 to 3, correct?
Top 3, yeah. I would have to really juggle and sit down and think about who would be the top one out of those 3, though.
But he's not. Is he in your top 3?
On the Orange Report, I believe he is. He might be 3.
I've got it right.
Okay, thank you, because I'm not near my computer here.
You have him 2 or 5 behind Strong.
5. Now in the parentheses there, the score. Are you looking at the rookie draft board? Or are you looking at Orange?
The order, it says wide receiver 5.
In Orange or.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you look at the actual valuation at the end of his write-up.
Okay. Let me look.
The overall score.
Oh, okay. Where do you see overall score? I don't know.
Okay. No,
so
no
basically, as an evaluation, he'd be 3rd.
Yes, yeah, in the top 3 at least. I remember his score being without the character concerns, right there with Cooper and White.
Right.
Gotcha. And Jalen Strong, he kind of seems like a polarizing guy lately, and I also have him at wide receiver 4. Or, I mean, wait, no, I'm behind DGB, but it could fluctuate based on draft position or whatever. But
sure.
What are your thoughts on Strong?
I like his skill set. A lot of people are kind of down on him. I don't honestly see it. What actually a lot of people took me more to task for was my Ty Montgomery ranking. I had him much higher than a lot of people did, and got knocked for that one. They both kind of fall into that same category for me in that their production has just kind of been accepted, and they don't have that automatic wow factor, but they have the skill set to be a really good player at the next level.
I'll tell you what, Ty Montgomery's 2013 was an incredible season. Like, based on efficiency and sort of what he did in the running game, and like just that whole season was incredible. And I went into last year just hoping that he would build on that and sort of increase, but instead he kind of went the other way. And I don't know all the factors. I didn't watch a ton of them in 2014, but I think based on 2013, we can say there's like a decent skill set there. I'm just not sure what his role is for an NFL team. Like, I honestly think he might be better off as a running back.
Yeah, no, our boy George, he's been campaigning all off season to get him back.
What do you think about that? I mean, you said you were high on him, so
Sure. I think he's actually better as a wide receiver.
okay.
Regardless of what George says. And I love George, so if he's hearing this, he knows that. I just feel that with as deep as this class is, players are bound to fall through the cracks, and I believe that he is definitely one of them. You're right with his 2014 season, not as impressive as one would have hoped. I can't pin all that on him, though. I don't think Stanford as a whole was as good as they've been in previous years either.
I'm with you on that. I don't think he had as good of a situation. I just think I looked at him from a 2013 perspective, and I was just like, wow. Like, if he can build on this, he's a first-round pick. But
sure. Strong was kind of the same way, too.
Right.
I would say.
Yeah, and I did a profile on him last year at this time, and I came away thinking, okay, like he's a solid prospect, and I compared him to Roy Williams, the Lions' Roy Williams, who was obviously a first-round pick, so that's a compliment, not a negative. And
sure.
when you make player comparisons, you're comparing who they were sort of when that player was coming out, not when they were sort of 5 years into the league and a finished product, you know?
You read my mind. That was something I was looking at yesterday and today. There's certain players that when you look at them and compare them to players in the NFL, some people want to compare them to what that player in the NFL is currently, and that's incredibly tough to do. But if you compare that player to that same the NFL player when they were coming out of college and into the draft, I think that's a much more accurate way to go about doing things.
Because there's so many things happen in the NFL that it's so hard to project like what they'll actually become. Just like give a starting point of what type of player you think they are. And I just saw a player who can high point the ball, make tough catches in coverage, and sort of like not his strength is not after the catch, you know, like he's not going to burn by anybody. And I came away a little not upset, but like I thought he'd be stronger after the catch and break more tackles.
Sure. I've got another player that I just finished doing that kind of same comparison with. Everyone likes to talk about Gordon being, the next Jamal Charles. The funny thing is, if you look at his comparables in terms of measurables, rather, with the combine, you end up having a player that he compares to that he looks nothing like currently versus the player in the NFL, and that player being Marshawn Lynch. His comparables are very similar to Lynch coming out of college. Now, granted, Lynch went and gained a bunch of pounds. He runs a different style, but in terms of, his 40, his broad jump, his vertical, they're all very similar to Marshawn Lynch and nothing like Jamal Charles, which is funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget. All three of those guys have dreadlocks. So.
Now there's the comparable. Let's measure the dreadlocks.
Yeah. And white slot receivers are all Wes Welker and Colby.
Yep.
No, back to Gordon. I actually, when I watched him early on, like I obviously made the Jamal Charles comparison, even though he clearly, like, I feel like they run similar, but on a different speed.
Yes.
Like Gordon, like he's not a speed back as much as he looks like a speed back. He's not really a speed back. He's more of a quickness and cuts type of back. So they kind of look the same when they're cutting, but I don't know that the results they like kind of do it differently, you know?
Yeah, you know what I would love to see, and I haven't seen it anywhere, is video comparisons of them running the same kind of sweep or up the middle or something like
Yeah.
that. Compare them, maybe overlay them if that's even a possibility, and show the differences there. I think that would be something to be very cool for the community, but I'm gonna have to leave that to someone else.
Yeah, right. With
Bring
awesome.
it back to Scott Fish. Get on it, Scott.
Yeah, right. No, that's definitely Scott Fish would toss in our email one day and be like, "All right,
Just
guys."
boom.
No, he goes, "Hey guys, I just did this awesome thing that nobody was thinking of. So here you go. It's a resource for you now." Oh, thanks, Scott.
What's funny is I talk to Scott all the time, and I'm always pummeling him with ideas. I'm like, "Hey, wouldn't this be cool?" And sometimes he'll be like, "Yeah, that's not cool at all." Other times, most of the time, to his credit though, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I can really get behind that," and he'll just produce something out of the blue where I'm like, "Oh, I thought this was going to be a several-month project that you and I could work with." And he's like, "Oh no, I just did it last night." Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure he does not sleep. Like, I don't know. That's just a theory. But based on the emails I've gotten over the last 3 to 4 months, there's no way he gets like more than 3 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah. In fact, I believe he works at night. I think it's during the day that he would be doing his sleep, so maybe that's why we don't see him.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm coming through the Orange Report, and one of the guys that you kind of have on your radar that a lot of people don't anymore because he's older than Brandon Whedon's dad is Michael Dyer. What are your thoughts on the 24-year-old running back? One of the best
Nathan with the Brandon Whedon burn.
I think it was you that pointed out that I had him as the wrong birth date or wrong age or something like that too. And going through this, a lot of times you'll copy and paste and things happen. Eric Olinger is another one who pointed out a few of my mess ups. Anyway, yeah, I like his skill set. Sure. Is he a bit too old, especially when you reach a 30-year-old plateau in most cases with running backs? So he would have a much more compact career. Yeah. Now, is this someone you could probably pick up in the middle to late rounds and get some good value out of him, provided he lands in a good spot? Sure. I mean, you could say that with most players, but his skill set is such that I think he could excel given an above average landing spot. I'm not even saying that it has to be a good landing spot, but above average.
You know what's really interesting about Michael Dyer? People are much more willing to buy into Malcolm Brown than Michael Dyer. And Michael Dyer had a much better freshman year. From what I remember. I don't remember Malcolm Brown ever sort of actually breaking out. I mean, I'll check it now, but
All right, well,
you know where Brown would be a good fit, and I think I said this in the Orange Report, the Cowboys. I mean, he just has that style of running that Murray has. I think, and honestly, Texas, I mean, come on, he's right there. Dallas has looked at him. I think it would be kind of a nice mid-round pickup for them that they could slot into a similar kind of role that Murray had. Maybe not the amount of touches, but at least style of running, I would say, is similar from what I remember.
Well, I've already marked it down. The Miami Dolphins are selecting Duke Johnson in the second round of the NFL draft.
yeah, pretty much. But my point about Malcolm Brown versus Michael Dyer is that like they were both 5-star prospects. They were both highly touted, and Michael Dyer was the one like he had a much better college career than Brown did. It was just he really elongated the last 3 years and kind of blew a bunch of opportunities, and obviously transferred and everything. But early on, I mean, after 2010, people were looking at him like he was going to be the next premier sort of running back. So, I mean, I don't know if he's even going to get drafted, but he's an interesting player to me.
Sure.
All right, so when I was posting on Twitter or in Voxer looking for questions for you, Ghost,
oh, this should be good.
Justin Hustis of UTH asked, He said you play in 50 leagues. Is that correct? 50 plus leagues.
Roughly, yeah. Between 40 and
Wow.
50, yeah.
Oh, how are you a human?
I'm a ghost.
Oh yeah,
I
that's right.
I died trying to keep up with all this stuff.
And then he came, yeah, and somehow he uses PayPal to pay his league fees, I
Go
think.
figure.
Okay, so like, are all of them Dynasty?
I would say a good 90 to 95% are dynasty, yeah.
Okay, and then like a few are like redraft and
A few are redraft, a few are
keeper.
keeper.
Yeah,
Correct. I have like 3 or 4 keeper, and I have probably like at least 2 or 3 redraft that I've just been in for years and years and years with the local guys. So
All
so
right.
what is one thing you would suggest to sort of managing that many leagues? Like, do you have a big spreadsheet of everything,
no,
or do you
actually,
just man up, I guess?
for for the previous years, I just had to man up. And we were just talking about this individual a little bit ago. Scott Fish created a tool which has helped me immensely. In that I just enter all my different leagues, and it presents me a page with all my lineups where I can just submit my lineups all on one page.
Right.
Before I had to, load each one, go
Yeah.
submit lineup, and oh god,
The
brutal.
waivers must have been crazy every week. Like, because once you get into week like 9, you're already a little sort of like beat up from the previous 8 weeks, and like you're not
Yeah.
like maybe I just won't do waivers this week. And you know what? Most people won't say that, but then I say that. So
No,
like if you got
you're
people out there, don't feel bad if like one week you just go, you know what? I'm not doing it this week. I'm just gonna set my lineups and chill out.
and you know what's funny is people look to us as the quote unquote professionals here in
Yeah,
fantasy. We do the same thing
yeah.
these other
Like
guys do. I mean, we get tired. We don't want to do waivers in week 9 or 10. Um,
especially when you're doing redraft and DFS at the same time, it's
yeah,
just a lot, you know. So if you haven't like planned it accordingly, sometimes it gets to you.
and I'm the head of the DFS side of DLF, so I'm neck deep in that stuff too.
Yeah,
It's
there you
just
go.
my nights are shot throughout the NFL season.
Yeah.
All right. So when you have that large of a portfolio, do you try and diversify your unproven, your rookie assets, or you just go strictly by your orange report, by your board?
Oh yeah, that's interesting because most people do not have that many leagues, and like even like I'm in like I don't know, what did I say, like 14 or 16 or something like that. Like I pretty much just get the guys I want. And but I feel like if you're in that many, you definitely want to sort of split it up a little bit.
Well, it kind of does it by itself, and there's no real secret formula where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna trade in all 30 different leagues to try and get this one player. You're at any number of different positions, or don't even have draft picks in some leagues in different rounds, just based on what you've done throughout the year. Sometimes you're the bottom guy. You have the 101. You're lucky you get your guy. Other times you went and you won the entire league, and you have the last pick, or you traded them away to try and get that last piece to try and make your playoff run. So. And in addition to that, sometimes some teams are weak at a certain position. Some teams are strong at another position. So the 101, or let me rephrase this. The 106 in some leagues isn't the same as the 106 in other leagues. You've
Right.
got some people ahead of you that are weak at certain positions who have now kind of picked the board clean for certain positions, and maybe you get a top, let's say, wide receiver. That might not be a position that you actually need or want for that team, but sometimes you just have to flat out take it. Other times you might be just dying for a wide receiver, and the top running back falls to you. It just, you kind of have to play it on a league by league basis, and you can't go in with too many preconceived plans because they're just bound to get shot out of the water.
And yeah, that's another interesting thing. Like there's like in 50 leagues, that's so many different people and so many different evaluations that you're probably going to get a good mix either way.
Yeah, I can honestly say that I can draft an entire the entire NFL draft class across all my leagues. So I'll hit somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's the thing I'm kind of getting at is that so like last year I didn't like Odell Beckham at all, okay,
Yeah.
and didn't get him in any of my like eight or nine leagues I was in last year. Do you ever have that thing where you just miss on one player and don't have him in a single league?
Ironically, the exact same player.
Yeah. Yeah. No, mine was Jordan
Just
Matthews
missed it.
last year. And it was just like, why didn't I just like at least grab one? You know what I mean? But I didn't. And now I'm just like, ugh.
I was, it's funny. I did almost the exact same thing with your player as well, Jordan Matthews. I got him in one league. Now I am very happy with that pick, but
Yeah, definitely.
I'm unhappy that I didn't take him in the other ones.
Right.
What I was going pretty heavy with was trading up to get Evans or waiting
Oh,
for Benjamin, and those both worked out great for me. So I
right.
can't be too upset about it.
Yeah, no, but if, I was just imagining if I was in like 50 leagues and no one
Yeah,
was
right. Not one Beckham share in 50. Yeah.
Zero.
No.
Nope, same thing. And sometimes I'll swap out leagues where either it's just not the right fit. Sometimes the league is just too inactive. Sometimes it's just I'm not a big fan of like 16 team leagues, and I started adding those there about 2 or 3 years, and now I'm just like I'm done with that. So. There is a slight churn. Sometimes commissioners are just done with the league too. They don't want to handle any of the headache that comes with it. So there
Right.
is a slight churn, and I'll try and add some leagues. And trust me, I'm looking for teams that have Beckham or Matthews on them.
Yeah.
I can't really find them, strangely enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine after last year, the Beckham owners probably willing to trade in their roster. But
What's funny is I'm sorry. In
go
one league
ahead.
that I do run, that did happen. The owner of Odell Beckham just decided I'm done with this, and I was so jealous. I was like, God, maybe I can just trade my team for his,
Yeah,
and
switch yours and then give yours away. Yeah.
I felt that probably wasn't a good idea to do.
No, probably not. Or just overnight, just switch Beckham onto your roster, and
Yeah.
then nobody would know.
Whoops. Don't know how that happened.
No, and you know what? As much as we want to look back at Beckham in hindsight, like even though he was the 12th pick in the draft, I don't think anyone thought like this was gonna happen. You know?
Yeah, in my Orange report last year, I think he was between 6 and 8, wide receiver 6 and 8.
Right.
And I liked the skill set. I really liked the acrobatic catches. I even mentioned it in my write-up, which is just frustrating.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't like is that in his career he had a lot of drops, or at least what I perceived to be a lot of drops. He apparently has kind of solved that problem, and more power to him.
Yeah.
More
Right.
power to him. But God, I look back and I'm like, wow, I really did have him ranked pretty well in terms of wide receiver class. He was a top
Yeah.
10 wide
No.
receiver.
6 to 8 is not bad. You know,
No,
for what the consensus was.
All right, so that brings up an interesting thing with watching film and watching NFL players. What do you make of players that like transform their games early on in their career, like a Le'Veon Bell goes from a bigger back
Incredible.
we're the best back in the
Yeah.
NFL,
Incredible.
and Odell Beckham he said had a hands problem, and now he doesn't even drop his toast in the morning.
luckily enough with Bell, I was pretty high on him.
Yeah, whatever.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
no.
I haven't written.
Yeah,
down.
okay.
I haven't
Yeah,
written.
fine.
Down. I have proof. So I was able to obtain him, but I understand where you're going with the question. Sometimes it just requires that a change of scenery or that maturing going into the NFL for a player to really step up his game, and those aren't things you can really foresee, and you are happy for the player that he's able to achieve that. You just kind of hope that you got a good enough good things in to say about him to make you not look like a complete idiot on the backside.
I think the interesting thing about those two is they both had the raw tools, you know? The one thing Bell needed to do was lose weight so that he could become a little faster, but he always sort of had the athletic ability.
Sure.
But if you speed up his game like 0.2 of a second, and that's basically what he did, and he's awesome now. So, well, hopefully he stops smoking weed and driving LeGarrette Blount around in the car, but other than that,
drives me nuts.
Crazy. But
all right, so let's get a word from our sponsor in. Well, first of all, Ghost, do you play in any reality sports online leagues?
I just joined one that the DLF team is doing this season, so I'm excited for that.
All right, well, let's hear all about it. Reality Sports Online is a powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy teams like an NFL general. RSO features the revolutionary free agency auction room, which makes NFL free agency, enabling fantasy owners to compete against themselves, negotiate with, and sign NFL's top talent with single or multi-year contracts. An intuitive algorithm acts as the player's agent, automatically valuing offers using the same factors used in real life: the total amount, per year average salary, total guarantee, and contract length. In addition to its revolutionary free agency software, RSO's League Manager has tons of other cool features like in-season signs and cuts, multi-team up to 5, future draft pick trades, franchise tag, injury reserve, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Test your general manager skills today by participating in a free mock free agency auction room at realitysportsonline.com and use the code DUDES10 to get 10% off league entry fees. Once again, that's DUDES10, and you get 10% off your league entry fees. Alrighty, boys.
Dudes with a Z, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, D-U-D.
It's really important. It's basically our trademark. The lightning bolt Z.
Yeah, Russell and I without a name for the Hangout, and he was like, "Dude, we gotta find a name for the Hangout." And I was like, "Dynasty Dudes." He's like, "Yes."
and then I went straight to Gopher, Fantasy Gopher, who does some random like animation stuff, and I was like, all right, I need the Z to be a lightning bolt. And the dudes were born.
And then the magic happened.
Yeah.
All right, so today, as in Sunday, I'm guessing most people watching this will be doing so tomorrow morning on your drive to work, because that's what everyone who's awesome does. But anyways, on Sunday, the DLF crew was giving away 3 months of DLF Premium in preparation for the NFL Draft, so you can check out the Orange Report and all the great premium content that DLF offers. So I'm going to give away one right now. The trivia question is, there are 8, including Ghost, who have appeared on both the Dynasty Dudes Hangout and the DLF podcast. So you just have to tweet me 5 of the 7 others, and the first person to do it wins a free month of DLF Premium. I'm paying for the whole free month, or I'm not.
Nathan's cracking open his piggy bank. He's gonna cry for a second because he's been saving it for a few years, and he's gonna put it on PayPal and pay for your month. So this is quite the opportunity, folks.
All right, so just to read the question, it's guests who have been on both the Dynasty Dudes Hangout and the DLF podcast. There are 8 total. If we minus Ghost, it's 7, and you have to get 5 of the 7. So, Ghost, anything else to wrap up the show tonight?
No, just glad to finally make it on board with you guys here. I've had a blast, even though just sitting in a hot car here, you know. Other than that, though, it's been a great conversation for sure.
Awesome.
So, where can people find you?
Other than in hot cars.
What's that?
Other than in
steamy
hot cars.
At the FFGhost on Twitter and on DLF. I'm a senior writer there, and I've had a piece now on RotoViz. You'll be seeing some more stuff from me there now that the draft is coming up.
Yeah, that running back piece was really cool, saving the running back position. You had a couple months back. Definitely check that out if you haven't yet. All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, I love that piece. Honestly, I'm very proud of it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. You can find Russell on Twitter at FFRussellClay. You can find me on Twitter at NPalFF to tweet me the answer to the trivia question. And if no one does it, then I'll be very sad that no one cares about my trivia question. Thanks.
I'll do it. I'll do it. It's fine.
A pity answer.
I'm out here.
All right. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.